Ooh, what's going on, my beautiful marketing people? Welcome to another episode of the show. Today, joining me from the beautiful Pacific Northwest is the CMO at Heritage Distilling, Hannah Hanley. Hannah, how you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me.
I'm excited to have you on and talk about some of the opportunities and challenges that are in the spirits world. Um, but before we get into that, I want to hear your story. How did you find your way into this crazy world of marketing? Was it always the mission? Was it, are you an accidental marketer? Walk me through your journey today. And then we'll get into heritage and some of the challenges and opportunities that present.
Sure. Yeah. So I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, moved away to Montana for college, and then from Montana, found myself in the ski industry. So I moved from Bozeman, Montana, down to Salt Lake City, where I finished up school. I did a program at a small school in Salt Lake called Westminster College. And part of that program was internships in the ski world, which is what I always wanted to do. So I started as an intern in the marketing department at Canyons Resort in Park City, Utah, when I was in college. And then after college, graduated and kind of worked my way into the marketing department down there. So I worked in the ski industry for just over 5 years, and then and I did PR and marketing, and I learned a ton from the teams down there. I went through several acquisitions from a company standpoint at the Canyons, and then finally through the Vail acquisition. And when all of that was kind of going down, the Park City was changing a lot. It's a beautiful community, and Utah is amazing. But my husband and I at that point kind of decided it was time for us to maybe end up back in the Northwest, closer to some family. So we moved back to the Northwest, and I saw that the distillery was hiring. I thought that sounds fun, ski industry to spirits. They were actually hiring here. The owners were hiring for the tasting room, and I thought I could do that on the weekends or something like that. I went into the interview, and they were like, "You're overqualified." And I was like, "Yeah, a little bit, but sounds fun." So they were amazing, and we ended up working together to create a job at the distillery. At the time, it was a really small company, one tasting room. I was employee number five or six, and then from there, the the let's see. From there, Justin and Jennifer, who are the owners of the company, had huge vision for Heritage, and that included a lot of different spirits, tasting rooms. And so through the years now, I've been at Heritage for just over 8 years. We make vodka, gin, whiskey, akavit, rum, canned cocktails, the gamut of spirits, really. We have 6 tasting rooms in the Pacific Northwest, and we have a partnership with the Chehalis tribe down in Grand Mountain, Washington, for the first distillery on tribal land as well. So we have been really instrumental in the industry and instrumental in growing the industry, specifically in the Pacific Northwest. Um, Through the years, we've launched a lot of products. I always say we're brand builders here. So we built originally BSB brown sugar bourbon, and now that has moved out of our house and on, um, and then our newest products are Cocoa Bomb chocolate whiskey and our heritage canned cocktails, which we have been working on growing now. So I've always known I wanted to work in marketing. I've always loved marketing. I love the creativity, and I love branding, and I love building brands. And now here we are. You know, through it, my team is a small team, mighty team, and then our retail department also reports into me, and I work really closely with our wholesale team as well. So,
I, I love it. So many moving parts.
yeah.
Um, and that's, I'm sure, half the challenge and most of the reward, right, is piecing that all together. Um, you came on into the company early. You've seen it grow. You obviously have seen also not only the company grow, but the landscape change, right? And I want to talk a little bit about that and this emergence, for lack of a better term, of canned cocktails. And Was that something where people were asking for it and y'all were like, okay, hey, we got to do this. We're getting asked for it, distributors, or we're seeing on premise? Or was it, hey, we're seeing interest in seltzers go up. We have some research, or was it just a gut feel where it's like, hey, this is the future. We got to act on this. Um, Walk me through, if you can, or was it a combination? Like, walk me through the kind of the decision making to be like, okay, canned cocktails, let's launch that as kind of our next endeavor.
Sure. So canned cocktails are the biggest growing segment in our industry, and canned products in general are really what we've seen as the future of the industry. The data points to all of that. All of the big brands are releasing them. So we started working on canned cocktails about 2.5 years ago, and coming up with the recipes, trying to differentiate the recipes so that it wouldn't be it would stand out on the shelf, that the packaging would stand out. And we came up with four that we think are amazing. They're low ABV, low sugar, really hit kind of all the trends in terms of the industry. So we have two vodka-based ones, Easy Peasy Lemon Squeezy, Blood Orange Vodka Rita, Gin Jam Fizz, and then Peachy Bourbon. And they're all just very bright, beautiful packaging. 6.9%, which puts them below tax level in a lot of states. Spirits industry is tricky because every state has different rules. And so we try and um, stick with products or stick with ABV levels that we know we can get the most placements out of. And so when we first started working on the project, it was, like I said, a few years ago. And with seltzers in particular, most or pretty much all of the seltzers are beer brands. And so that a lot of them can be malt based or can be um, they're not spirit based, and spirits are very different than beer. And so we want to make sure that what we're doing is really clean in flavor, that really appeals to people who are looking specifically for a cocktail, not a seltzer.
I love it. I think it's something, right? Like, the data points, it shows it's fast growing. And I just see this is, anecdotal. In my experience in LA, it was like COVID hit, bars were closed. Okay, middle of summer, like I'm beard out. I want something different. And then, we start going and it's like the family barbecue. Even as things are opening now, I don't like my desire now is I feel like I've been reconditioned to like go to the barbecue now or hang out with family. And it's so smart because whether it's at a family barbecue or at a major league baseball game, speed, convenience, taste, right? Predictable taste, speed, and convenience. There's no like, for lack of a better term, wild ant who's giving me a quadruple shot cup and telling me like, "Here, I made you a drink," and I take a sip, and I'm like, "Okay."
Like, you'll be fine, Jordan. It has just a couple shots.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. So I love that idea of I'm a sucker for repeatable experience. Like so I love building that and then giving people too the alternative to beer because in so many situations it's only been there's beer like and that's all. Um, have you found that that emergence and the demand for it has it been largely retail? Is it on premise? Are you noticing DTC? Like what's I guess is it equal? Like where do you see the demand coming from? Spiking the most.
Sure. Yeah. So that has a couple layers to it. Like I mentioned, we have 6 tasting rooms. So when we first started rolling out the canned cocktails, we did surveys for everyone coming in the door. Anyone who wanted to try them could try them complimentary and fill out a flavor and packaging survey. In about 6 weeks, we did 1,100 surveys. So, good response and overall really positive. What we also found is pretty much everyone who tried them bought them, which was a good thing too. So that's our direct to consumer. We really use our tasting rooms as beta experiences to try things out, get feedback, learn, and utilize the data to drive our decisions. From a wholesale standpoint, we're in the process right now of getting the products into distribution with RNDC, who's our distributor in Washington specifically, and hopefully in California as well. We have partnerships with the Seattle Mariners and the San Francisco Giants for Major League Baseball. And what we have found and what the feedback from the catering teams or the concessionaire teams at those two stadiums is that canned cocktails allow them to be quicker and to move lines faster. And it's not necessarily about serving the customers more drinks per game. The the regulators in both of those cities want to, make sure that people are having a good time, but within reason. It's more about making sure that people don't have to wait in line so that they can spend their money quickly and spend their money quickly on food and drink. And so um the response has been amazing so far. We're really proud of the canned cocktails, and we're excited to see, this summer how things go. This will be our first summer with them. I think that the response that we've gathered just since January is going to be really positive, though. Um, the other new product that we released, I mentioned, is our Cocoa Bomb chocolate whiskey, and it's a totally different product and a totally different demographic, but same demographic in some ways too. So what we found is that flavored whiskey is one of the biggest growing segments within the industry as well, and that data was driven through our tasting rooms, as well as through, of course, Nielsen and all of those data driven places. But what we also found is that in our tasting rooms, we have a program called Cask Club where individuals can join and custom age their own barrels of spirits. And the number one request was for people to make flavored whiskeys, and specifically whiskeys that could be approachable, giftable, and 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 products that would convert people who are not typically whiskey drinkers into being whiskey drinkers. So what we found in our success of our past products is, chocolate tested well. There is a couple chocolate whiskeys on the market, but not one that was really coming forward in terms of market. And so the Cocoa Bomb whiskey plays off the trend of cocoa bombs, to be honest, that was happening in 2020. And then we have partnered also with RNDC and our friends over at Screwball as well, so that we have a peanut butter and a chocolate pairing. It makes an excellent product and an excellent cocktail, really, or shot.
I love it. And now out of that, right, which is I find also very interesting, and I'm sure, or I guess I'm interested to hear your perspective on how you'll handle this. Is with diverse product lines, right, and seeing that consumer allegiance. Do you see that the allegiance, like, is Heritage Distilling out front, or are people going Cocoa Bomb whiskey? That's what I want, and that's the brand that you have to build. And in addition to that, how do you resource, marketing? Hey, I'm going to market this. This is our champion product. We know the demand's there. Do other products kind of just not get put on the back shelf? But like, how do you distribute really resources to do that? Because I think listeners, there's listeners out there right now that are working there with same thing. They got multiple product lines and they're a smaller team, and they're going like, we're told to execute sales number one, two, three, four, five, create all these leads. Okay, we need to tighten up and really have a couple flagship products. Is that what's going on, or like walk me through that process because I find that fascinating.
Yeah, great question. I probably say at least once a month. We are becoming a house of brands. We are also a branded house, but we are becoming a house of brands. And that does make it tricky because heritage, in terms of our locations and our experience driven environments, which is our tasting rooms, is very heritage branded. When you walk into a heritage tasting room, all six of them, it feels like heritage. And we have an amazing retail staff that works in our tasting rooms that are all I mean, they're brand evangelists for us. Like, they're amazing. And so they all have their products that they love to talk about, that they're really passionate about. But overall, we try and put things into core focus. So specifically going fall and winter, it was Cocoa Bomb. Cocoa Bomb chocolate whiskey. It makes sense fall and winter. It it has a bit of a seasonal approach to it, and we're honest with ourselves about that. However, then going into summer, we market a little bit more of a shop brand around a campfire kind of s'mores style, and we talk about it in that way. Our campaign for the summertime with Cocoa Bomb is less swiping, more sipping, and it's about spending more time experiencing the moment, being with the people that you love, or your friends, or meeting new people, just really experiencing life. Um, when we think about that and how we market that compared to the canned cocktails, the canned cocktails are heritage forward in branding. They have secondary brand in their names, and we specifically named them that way so that they could be standalone a little bit. Can I have an easy peasy? Can I have a peachy bourbon? It's easy to call out and it's easy to order if you're at a golf course or if you're, at a baseball game for sure. And and the way that I have always thought about that is that as we grow heritage as the premier Pacific Northwest craft distillery, we are heritage and we have amazing brands that fall under our umbrella. Um, I always liken it to beer brands, like, um, you know, beer brands get really known for the name of their beers, and people don't really question it. They go and they order, a Space Dust is really big around here. Elysian Space Dust. People will say, "Can I have a Space Dust?" They don't say, "Can I have an Elysian Space Dust?"
Right.
And that's okay. And Elysian, and now AB, who owns Elysian, leans into that, and they specifically, want people to know the names of the brands. So when I think about being a house of brands, I think that it is tricky and it is challenging for how we divide budget, how we think about specifically campaigns, and how we divide messaging. But I always tell the team one one message, one outlet, right? One channel, one message. If we're gonna have a post on our Instagram, that post, that static post or that story shouldn't be about five different things. It's about one thing in that moment, and that's okay. But I think that's why people are drawn to our brand too, because we do have diversity within the brands, and there's a little bit of something for everyone. And we might be introducing people to the brand through canned cocktails or through Cocoa Bomb, and then hopefully they find their way to our other products through that as well.
Yeah, I love that, right? Because if the brand becomes synonymous with craftsmanship and creating great products, okay, hey, my mom likes vodka mixes thing. Cool. We're gonna go and we're gonna get a vodka Rita for her. But hey, I want whiskey on ice. Okay, cool. And like we can do that all under the same or shop the same brand that we would trust, right? So
Yep.
I love that. Hannah, this has been fantastic. Before I let you go, let people know where can they get their hands on some of this product. I'd love to the listeners. We have a lot of listeners in the Pacific Northwest, so maybe a couple of locations they can find it. And then yeah, for anybody else who's looking to try the product.
I love that. Well, we are at heritagedistilling.com. Our Cocoa Bomb whiskey just landed into Washington, Safeway, and Albertson stores. In Oregon, we're in most OLCC stores. And then our canned cocktails are launching right now. So look for them at retailers near you. And then on social media. We're at Heritage Distilling on pretty much all of the channels. And then I'm Hannah Hanley, and I'm Drinks with Hannah on Instagram, which I share like more inside looks at what's going on in the company, which I think is kind of fun to see as well.
Amazing. And I'll put links to all of those in the show notes. Head over on Instagram, connect with Hannah, and make sure to check out heritagedistilling.com. Hannah, thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right, everybody, that's it for this episode. As always, I'm your host, Jordan Shelton, and I will catch you next time.